From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
My name is Nora Krug. I write the paperbacks column for the Washington Post, which is a charter sponsor and longtime supporter of this event. I'm thrilled here to introduce David Ezra Stein, whose wonderful books have, I know, filled my own house with a lot of joy. Among his many picture books is the New York Times bestseller, Interrupting Chicken. Which also won a Caldecott honor, and he said was inspired by a knock-knock joke, so maybe he'll tell us more about that. The book, as most of you seem to know, depicts a scene familiar to many parents, including myself, which is a child's attempt to avoid going to sleep. Except in this case, the child is a little red chicken, and he has a very noble purpose, which is to save all of these wonderful characters that we all know from being hurt. So we've got Hansel and Gretel and Little Red Riding Hood and Chicken Little and our little red chicken who wants to save them from harm. Stein, who both writes and illustrates, grew up in Brooklyn, where he says he started drawing very young, often using the Post-it notes that his mother left around to doodle, and eventually he says he remembers working in grade school on a 100-page book about Charlie Brown, which maybe he'll tell us about too. His newest book is Because Amelia Smiled, which maybe you haven't seen but is just out. And he says it was 13 years in the making and involved a very unusual illustrating technique using crayons. And maybe he'll tell us more about that too. The book is a celebration of happiness, offering a simple but important lesson about the infectiousness of joy. And as one little girl's smile spreads from her own little world to literally the whole world, and then back to her. His next book is called Oh Mama Squirrel, and will be out in the spring. And I don't know. He's got a lot to say. Thanks.
Thanks, Nora. Hey, everybody. It's great to be here in Washington and be here with you at this wonderful festival. What a beautiful place and a beautiful crowd to celebrate books with. So I'm here to celebrate my new book, Because Amelia Smiled, and it's my 9th book. But it has a long history behind it because way back in 1998 or so, a long time ago, I was in college and I decided I don't want to be in college anymore. I think I'm going to take a year off from school. So when you're little and you're in elementary school, you can't do that. You can't just say, Mom and Dad, you know what? I'm going to take a year off from school. No, you can't do that. But I was in college, and when you're in college, you can decide for yourself what's the best way to learn. So I decided that the best way for me to learn is to take some time off and go to Cape Cod in Massachusetts and live in a house by the ocean. And it was really fun because I got to ride my bike everywhere, and I got to swim in ponds, and I got a job in a restaurant, and I got to wash dishes with this big dishwashing machine. And then you would put the dishes in this really, really hot box, that's the dryer, and they would be really hot and dry. And then you would take them out and go, ooh, ow, ee, ow, I. And then you would give them back to the waiters, and they would use them again. But all that time, when I was biking around and swimming and looking at animals and going to the beach, I started to write things. I started to write poetry every day because it was so quiet there, and the sky was really big, and the earth was really small, and the ocean was really big. So it started making me think about poetry and interesting ideas. And every day I had a little tiny notebook that I would write ideas in, and they started to get more and more and more. So I would fill pages and pages of writing. And I was in school studying art, so studying painting and things like that. And I didn't do a lot of writing. But then when I was in Cape Cod at the beach, I did a lot of writing. I came back to New York City, and I went back to school. And the first class I signed up for was a children's book class of how to make pictures for children's books. And the teacher said on the first day, she said, for this class, you need to bring in a story. Because we're going to take our story and make sketches of the whole book. And then we're going to do some paintings for that story. And then we're going to try to sell our ideas to a publisher, which is somebody who publishes books and puts them out into the world so you can buy them and read them. And I said, that's interesting. And I was visiting with my sister one day, and we were talking about good feelings and how maybe if you're walking down the street and somebody cuts in front of you, you could get angry, and you could be angry for the rest of the day. Why did that person cut in front of me? That's so annoying. That's so rude. Or you could instead, if someone cuts in front of you and bumps into you or something like that, you could just say, well, you know what? A few minutes ago, I was happy, and now I'm going to decide to rewind and go back to where I was happy, and I'll just carry on from there. And I'll just take that happy feeling into the world and have a nice smile on my face like this. So we were talking about that, and I got on the subway, and I was riding on the subway. And when I'm on the subway, ideas happen. That's when I get a lot of good ideas, because the train is bouncing up and down, and my brain is rattling around in my head. And when I got off the train, I started walking, and I started to get this story, the story of Because Amelia Smiled. And I'm going to need a copy of the story to read from. So I think Nora had a copy of it, if I could borrow that. So I was walking home from the subway, and I thought, Because Amelia Smiled. And that was the beginning of the story. And as I walked, I pulled out this old paper bag that I had, and I started writing down the whole story. As I was walking on each block, I would get a little bit more. And by the time I got home, I had this cool story. So I took it to my teacher in class the next day, and I handed it in. And then she said the next week she had read all the stories. So she came and said, David, will you see me after class? And I said, okay. I hope I didn't do anything bad. And she came up to me and she said, this story is great. I could sell this story to a publisher right now if you say the word. So I said, and then I said, okay, that sounds great. Because I was still in school. I wasn't expecting all this success to start happening to me already when I was still in school. But I said, okay, go ahead, try and sell the story. So she went out, she showed it to an editor, and the editor loved it. And she said, Amelia smiled, and so did I when I read your story. It was a wonderful story. So I said, wow. And then my teacher said, you know what, you should really write an ending for this story. So I went home and I wrote an ending. I sent it to her, and she said, to the editor, and she said, we can do this. Let's publish this story. All we need from you is some great pictures for the story. So I said, okay, no problem. I brought in some pictures that I thought were pretty great for the story. And she said, well, we like these pictures. They're very nice. There's a lot of good things in them, but it's not exactly the right pictures for the story. So can you go home and try to do some more pictures? So I said, okay, famous big editor lady who's going to pay me a lot of money, I will do this for you. So I went home and I painted and drew and drew and painted until I had something else that was really interesting. I went back to her office in a big, tall building, and I went in the elevator. Ding, zoop, whoop, ding. And I got to the top of the building, and I showed her my artwork again, and she said, well, we like these pictures. They're really nice, but they're not exactly the right pictures for the story. So I said, oh, man. And And she said, why don't you come back again and see if you can do something different? So I went home and I was drawing and painting, painting and drawing, and nothing was really working quite right. And I did this a bunch of times where I would go up to her office, ooh, bing, hello. And then after 6 months of trying to illustrate the story, I just couldn't do it. And I was getting more and more and more frustrated because when someone tells you to draw a picture, sometimes you don't really feel like drawing a picture. And then you get all grouchy about it. And then you just don't want to do it anymore. And you start to cry sometimes. So that's how I was feeling. I was feeling really sad and mad because I couldn't finish this book. So the editor lady said, I'm sorry, but maybe we can get someone else to illustrate your story for you. And I said, no way, man. I want to illustrate my own story someday. So the whole thing was off, and I had to go home. I graduated from college, and every day I would go to my dining room table and make books and stories and paintings and try to write another book. And after about 4 years of that, I sold my first book, which was called Cowboy Ned and Andy, about a cowboy who has a birthday out in the desert, and his horse wants to find him a birthday cake. So after about 4 years, I had sold my first book. And then I did another one, and another one, and 8 more books until one day I was showing ideas to my editor for my next book. And she said, you know, you showed me 10 ideas. Why don't we do Because Amelia Smiled? And I said, oh boy, here we go. Okay, this must be it. This is the time when I actually do this book. And here it is. So that was the story of Amelia. And I'd love to read you the story. I might not be able to show you the pictures. Wonder if, would someone like to come up and hold the book? All right, how about you? And you can flip through the pictures. Thank you. What's your name?
Ellie.
All right, Ellie, here's the book, and then you just have to kind of show it in a showy kind of way. And you can turn the pages. So we'll start over where all the, after the title page, there's this really cool title page of Union Square, which is in Manhattan, which is right where I live, and that's where the story starts. Excuse me. And it's just a great place because that's where all these people are coming together, and ideas and music and feelings and things. So that's the bubbling pot where the whole story starts. Okay, Ellie. Because Amelia smiled coming down the street. Okay. Mrs. Higgins smiled too. Thank you. She thought of her grandson Lionel in Mexico and decided to bake some cookies to send to him. Because Mrs. Higgins baked cookies, Lionel ate one of the cookies. He decided to share the rest with his class. And he teaches English in Mexico. And teach them an English song about cookies. And the song on the chalkboard is, C is for cookie, that's good enough for me. So, because Lionel taught his class a song, one of his students, kickboxer Sensacia Golpes, decided to be a teacher too. She had her cousin record her in the plaza and put the video online. Zesta Crump and her ballet club in England saw the video and decided to add some new moves to their Goodwill recital in Israel. Kotz Gluberman, age 4, who was in the audience, decided he liked dancing after all. At bedtime, he danced his brother Ichabod to sleep. Because Kotz danced him to sleep, Ichabod slept all night through. In the apartment next door, Betty Marlinspike, glamorous rumba queen, got a great night's sleep. She woke in a good mood and took the band to get their hair done in Paris. The band felt so fancy, they gave a free show on the Pont Neuf. That's a bridge in Paris. On the barge below, Gregor the ex-clown sighed. Their ballad, Con Corazon Intacto, reminded him of his old flame, the amazing Phyllis, who lived in Positano, Italy. The next morning, he bought a bouquet to send to her with a note that said, "Phyllis, after all these years, will you marry me?" Phyllis was so happy, she threw roses from a high wire. She was caught on film by a TV crew that was doing a story on stray cats. There are a lot of stray cats there in Positano, Italy. And this page was really fun because I put some friends of mine in the picture. Back in New York, Lydia Furtado saw Phyllis on TV while making pizzas on Carmine Street. On the subway home, she began a scarf of roses for her niece, Pia Maria. She sat across from Pigeon Man Jones. Okay, there's one more line there. Thanks. He watched her and remembered his dear old grandma who loved to knit. When he got back to his rooftop and let his pigeons out, he wondered if maybe somehow, wherever Grandma was, she could see them. Because Pigeon Man Jones let his birds out, Amelia saw them. And she smiled. That's the end of Because Amelia Smiled. Thank you, Ellie. Thank you. So that's the story of Amelia, and I'm very relieved that it's out there in the world now, and I can go do other books. But I think it came out pretty well. So when I was a kid, I always wanted to matter, you know, and that's what this book is about. How every kid matters and every person matters, and what you do matters in the world. And one of my favorite games when I was a kid, I had a big imagination, and I wasn't really allowed to go that many places or do that much stuff, because when you're a kid, you don't really get to pick, you know, hey, let's go to Disney World today. Mom and Dad, instead of school or something like that, or the post office. So when you're a kid, you just don't have that freedom to choose what you really want to do. So sometimes I would sit in a chair, and I would play this game called Traveling Sitting Still. And Traveling Sitting Still is where you sit there in a chair like you are, and you close your eyes, and you can try this with me too. You close your eyes, and you imagine that you're in your bedroom. And you try to feel how the ground feels under you. Are you wearing shoes or just socks? Or are you barefoot? You might want to wear shoes in your imagination because you're going to go outside in this game. And then you look around your room and you see all the familiar things that are there. And you see the doorway going out of your room. And you can walk through that. When you have a good picture of your bedroom, you can walk through that into the hallway outside your bedroom. And then maybe you have to go downstairs, or maybe you just keep walking straight and make some turns and find your way to the front door. And then when you get to the front door, you can go outside of it and then see what's outside on your street. What time of day is it? Who do you see around? What's going on when you step outside? And I would do this and just keep on walking in my imagination and see how far I could get. See how much I knew about where I lived. And so you can keep on going down the street. Maybe pick a place you want to go to and see if you can get there. But I would travel and travel in my mind. And if you do this a lot, it's kind of like doing sit-ups for your imagination. You'll get a really strong imagination. And that's great for our next activity, because we're gonna be writing a story together. So are you guys ready to write a story together? All right. So now that your imagination's a little warmed up, we're gonna write a story by filling in a few words, and then we can illustrate it and we can act it out. I think it's gonna be fun. So we'll start with this. This is the story of a young fill in the blank. So let's fill in the blank with a young character that could be our hero of our story. Who has an idea for the hero of the story? Yeah? A young hippo. Okay. And the hippo's name was? Somebody else maybe give a name to the hippo. Eric? Okay, Eric the hippo. Let me write this down so I can remember. Eric. All right. Eric the hippo, who loved to, what did he love to do? He loved to splash. Where did he love to splash? In the pool. He loved to splash in the pool, which sounds like a very good thing for a hippo to do. But then everything changed one day when something happened. What happened to Eric? And if you're in the back, can I ask you to come up to the mic over there? There's a mic at the front of the row, and you can say your idea into the mic, okay? So, do we have somebody over here? Come on up and tell us your idea. Ah, okay, we have somebody here. So everything changed one day when what happened?
The water got dirty.
How did the water get dirty?
Mud got into it.
Mud. Well, hippos really like mud. So do you think that would bother him?
No.
Any other ideas? Maybe something else happened? Thank you for your idea, though. Okay. Yeah. Come on. Yeah, you can come on up to the mic. Oh, somebody got in there for.
Okay.
What happened to Eric the hippo?
Eric, he jumped in the pool and he swam and then he saw a crocodile.
Oh no!
And Eric got eaten. Then
No. Really? He got eaten, and then what happened?
and then when he got eaten,
Yeah.
a superhero human, and it was Superman came and saved him.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay. Thank you. That's pretty awesome. Thank you. So I thought he got eaten, but I think actually before he gets eaten, Superman comes and saves him. And that pretty much sums it up, I think. But then Superman wants him to do something in return for the favor. So what does Superman ask him to do for him that only a hippo could do? Maybe. Yeah? So, wait a minute. Crocodile.
Decorate his room.
All right. Superman comes. And then he says, Eric, listen, Eric, I know you have a wonderful sense of interior design. So, thank you. So, I'm thinking maybe something with a little mud and some papyrus, maybe. So then he... So I wonder what happens after that. Does it work out well for Superman? Does he get a great room that he really likes? Yeah? Maybe, do you know what happens after that? Decorate room. I'm really looking forward to seeing the end of the story. Okay, so here, why don't you can share my mic.
He loses his power.
Superman loses his power? Oh no. Yeah? Oh, the mud sucks out all the power from him, like some kind of weird spa treatment or something. This is really cool. Like, mud. Okay, mud sucked out powers. We could just keep going with this. This is great. Do you mind if I publish this as a story? I'm like, okay. I'll put you all on the title page. So, but don't worry, everything works out in the end when what happens? How does this thing end? Yeah?
There was a chicken that saved Superman's power and it said, don't go in! He's rich!
The interrupting chicken showed up and okay. And he said, don't go in, she's a witch. And he said, don't decorate that room. He's gonna lose his superpowers. And then, so the hippo didn't. The end. Okay, that's a good ending. Don't decorate room. Don't decorate that room. That. The end. That would be a great reality show. Don't decorate that room. I like that. It would be pretty short, though. So, okay. Now, I think we have a good story here. Eric the hippo loved to splash in his pool. Splashy, splashy, splashy all day long. He would have a great time. Then one day, he noticed something kind of disturbing about his pool. There was a crocodile in it. It was coming right for him, and it was going to eat him. Because it was around lunchtime, and the crocodile was waiting for someone to come into the pool all day. And then finally, Eric showed up. But just when the crocodile was about to bite him, we heard this music. Dun, 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 dun. Something like that. And Superman came. Yeah. And he landed in the pool, and all the water splashed out of the pool, and the crocodile splashed out of the pool into a tree. So then Eric said, "Thank you, Superman. You're the best. How can I ever thank you for what you did?" Then Superman said, "Well, you know, Eric." Well, you know, Eric. I always wanted to redecorate my bedroom because it's a little bit, I don't know, a little dated looking maybe. The wood paneling could go, I think. And it has a linoleum floor, which is really ugly. And I've heard that you're a great interior decorator, Eric. You even designed your own pool. So Eric said, "Well, it was nothing, but if you want me to help you, I would be glad to." So he came over the next day to Superman's house with big buckets of mud that he was going to smear all over the room to cover up all the ugly stuff. He was going to put it on the wood paneling and on the linoleum, and just make everything a nice kind of muddy, muddish color. That's good for wallowing in. But just when he was about to start putting the mud on, out jumped a little red chicken. And she said, "Don't decorate that room. If you put mud on there, Superman will lose his powers." The end. So that was the end of the story. That was the end of that story. So, I think we have, what, 10 minutes? Okay, we have about 15 minutes. So we're going to do some questions and answers. But first, I wanted to maybe illustrate a picture from our wonderful story that we made. So, who knows a scene that they want to illustrate? Which scene should we illustrate from the book? Back there. When Eric saw the crocodile? Okay, so now we need 2 actors to come up. And one person can be Eric and one person can be the crocodile. So who wants to be Eric the hippo? Eric the hippo, actor Come on down. Okay. Come on up here. And then we need a crocodile. Crocodile. Okay, the crocodile is over there. Come on up to the stage. I think you have to come around this side. Oh, wait, we have a lot of kids here. I think we have 2 crocodiles. 2 crocodile pool full of crocodiles. It's very dangerous. So, Eric the hippo, and you are?
I'm Sabrina.
Sabrina, okay.
Kaylin. Maya.
They are the crocodiles. So, let's get into character. Let's be a happy splashing hippo. What would you do? All right, look at this happy hippo splashing. And let's put you over here, right here. And then we have the mean old crocodiles who are really hungry coming from this way. Okay? Feeling mean? Okay, let's go. Action. What happens? But just when they're about to eat him, oh, we need another actor. Uh-oh, another actor. To be Superman. Okay, come on up here. Just when they're about to eat the hippo, Superman came and did what? What did he do? He said, "What should I do? Maybe I should intervene somehow." Should we fly in and save them? Let's go. And then we save the hippo from danger. And then are you gonna pretend to punch the crocodiles or anything? Or you could zap them with your eyes. Ear, ear. And then he stopped the crocodiles because they wondered what he was doing. They're like, what is that guy doing over there? He looks like Superman. So, so let's freeze the action here. Everybody freeze. Okay. And the hippo was scared. Superman was in the middle, and the crocodiles were coming. Okay, now this should only take about half an hour, so just hold it right like that. And I'll take this off here. I'll put it right in here, because we know what happens in the story. So Superman was in the middle. I don't know how to draw Superman. Superman was in the middle saying, "Don't touch that. Don't touch a hair on that hippo. I don't know if hippos have hair. Don't touch a hair on that hippo's head, you rascally crocodiles. You." And okay, he looks pretty super. Then we have the hippo. It was like, don't you let that crocodile. So the hippo was here, and he was really scared. And there's the beautiful hippo putting her hands up in the air, his hands up in the air. Eric the hippo. And maybe there's, maybe the alligators are green, and a blue alligator, green alligator, blue alligator. And these alligators were very afraid of Superman. And there's a blue alligator, or maybe a red alligator. Ooh, a red alligator. Behind the other alligator. Scared, he was like pushing the other alligator forward. Like, you go. You fight Superman. And then there's a pool somewhere. I think there should be a pool. Maybe Superman is in the pool and nobody else can be in the pool. Except the alligator's foot. Well, we didn't plan ahead that much. And there's just water everywhere, puddles and everything. And that's the picture from Superman versus the alligators, starring Eric the Hippo. Thank you, everybody. Thanks to our actors. Take a bow, everybody. Take a bow. Okay, thank you, guys. Okay, now, now you've done your job. Thank you. So let's have some questions. Yeah. Okay, we'll take a few questions from the audience, and then we have to say goodbye. It's been a lot of fun. That was a fun story. So if you have a question, come down to the mics. There's one over there in that aisle, and there's one at the end of this aisle, too.
Who's
Hi.
Amelia?
Who's Amelia? Amelia is not anybody that I know, but it's a smiley name. When you say Amelia, you have to smile. And it just sounded like a beautiful name for the story.
Can I have the picture?
You want the picture? I could give you the picture, but I heard that the Library of Congress might be interested in taking it, so it's you against the Library of Congress. So, okay, I'll give you the picture. I decided. I'll give you the picture. Thank you. I should sign it, too. I forgot to sign it. I'll have to send the Library of Congress another picture at some point. Maybe they can write a story with me. Okay, do we have other questions? Hi.
Are you going to make that into a book?
I'm probably not going to make it into a book, but you can see how cool it is to just start writing a story and to cooperate with other people, and then it can become something really interesting just on an ordinary Sunday like today. So I hope you'll write stories yourself, too, every day. Okay, over here.
What was your favorite book you made?
Oh, my favorite book. I like all my books for different reasons. They're like my kids in a way, so I like all of them. They were all fun to make at the time when I made them. Does that answer your question? That was a kind of cop-out answer, I guess. All right. Hi.
Hi. I just want to first applaud you for what you did with making this story and involving everyone. I think that's something that not a lot of authors do, so I was just happy about that. My question was, what do you think is the role that children's books have in young children's lives? How do you think it helps them develop? That was my question.
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I mean, I think it's really hard to say any one thing, but I noticed with my son, he's 3, and he started out just kind of chewing on books, and then he started to open the pages and just turn the pages, and that was really fun for him because he was doing that at the time. He was touching things and moving things, and then he started to say, "Oh, there's a cow, moo moo," or a sheep, ba ba ba. And then he started to recognize the characters from the books as we read it to him. And then he started to even learn some words, and now he's memorized parts of the stories. So I think a book grows up along with a kid. And pretty much from the time you're a baby, you can appreciate a book by eating it or something. And then it goes on to making you into a reader. So it's probably one of the most wonderful things for a kid.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Hi, how did you get so good at drawing?
At drawing? Oh, it's practice. If you like to draw, draw every day. And you can draw your brother or sister, your pets, your house, or what's out your window. Or you can just draw stuff that you make up from your head. But it's really fun to draw things that you love. So that means there's going to be extra energy in the picture, and it's going to come out extra good. So practice.
Hi, I came kind of late, so one of my questions was like, what kind of books do you write, and how many books have you written?
I write mostly picture books. So I write them, and I also do the pictures. And Amelia, Because Amelia Smiled, is my 9th book. So I have 9 books out so far. And then I have a couple coming out next year, too.
What was the first book that you wrote that was published?
The first book I wrote was Cowboy Ned and Andy, and that was one that I spent a few years at my dining room table working on, and then it finally got published. Okay, I think we have time for one more question, and that's it. Or no more questions.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
An interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow? Sequel, I'm thinking. Okay. I think this is the last question, okay?
Why did the interrupting chicken interrupt? And at the end, I'm gonna do a knock-knock joke about the interrupting chicken.
Okay. The interrupting, well, I think it's up to you to decide, but I think the interrupting chicken interrupts because she cares about the story so much.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting chicken.
Interrupting chicken who?
Don't go in, she's witch. We all won.
Okay, I think that's... should we take one last question? Okay, I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much. You can ask me.
Okay, here's the
Last guy, right here.
Did you learn how to draw about dragons?
Do I know how to draw a dragon? Is that what you mean?
Do you?
Yeah, I made this book called Monster Hug, which has a dragon, a blue dragon in it. So I guess I do know how to draw dragons, but there's always a different way to draw dragons because dragons are imaginary and you can always make up a new way to draw them. Thanks, everybody. You've been a great crowd. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.